Alright, eating with my mouth full, or talking with my mouth full. Anyway, ta-da! The car is at solid, and I'm back on the GoPro at the moment, just because it's easier doing it in dirty hands in the workshop, so... more updates with the new camera though. Yeah, down at solid. Good thing is Jackson has offered to give me a hand salvo, so we quickly ripped the bonnet off, threw the car on the trailer, went at solid. We're just gonna, under the tail shaft, dump the trans fluid, get the motor and box out, and then get it ready to send the motor back to Sydney. So still crazy lockdowns and everything at the moment. By the time this video comes out, we're hoping things will change, but yeah, we'll see how we go.
All electric.
He wants me to put an electric motor in my Barra car. Yeah, it's got one that starts it. It just goes in the side of the belt housing there. Alright, everything's undone here except for the cross member and the tail shaft, which you can just pop out with the motor. We're all good. Trans is empty. That's all done. Jackson's moustache hasn't grown anymore since the last 6 months.
It's stopped.
Nice. Alright, then we just got to work out one way to sling it from the top, so it should be pretty easy. Alright, let's let it down. Right, this is officially the first update from lockdown. I said lockdown a couple of videos ago talking about Sydney, and then all of a sudden lockdown in Adelaide. At this point in time, it's hopefully, fingers crossed, only going to be 7 days, but I guess we'll see how it all goes. But we're not here to talk about that stuff. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about though was last video I put a thing at the beginning about these Bendix coolers that we're giving away, and we're talking about hitting 55,000 subs. We're actually getting pretty close to that, so I've decided I'm going to hang out just one more video's time. Sorry for those people that thought it'd be in this one, but hopefully we'll crack them in the next one, and then we'll be announcing who's going to win those. We'll put the names below and that sort of thing. But one thing I wanted to talk about before I talk about the Ute and where I'm at with that is negativity in YouTube and stuff like that. It's not some rant or anything like that, but you know, obviously with YouTube and the internet and Facebook and all that sort of thing, you're always going to have negative opinions, everything like that. And, you know, there's a few comments here and there, people sort of making assumptions about things, or you know, attacking people and bits and pieces. And to be brutally honest, I don't care what people think, because I'm just here for a good time, not a long time. You know, as they say in the old saying, especially with racing cars and stuff like that. For me, it's more a case of going out and enjoying yourself and having fun and not creating too much stress. You know, I'm 44 this year, and well, 44 now. And you know, life throws all sorts of curveballs and stuff like that at you, but these days I just want to enjoy myself, hang out with my mates and have a good time. So as far as racing the Ute goes, to me, I want to make it zero pressure, zero stress. You know, there's going to be good times and bad times. Things are going to go wrong, things are going to go right, and so we take the goods with the bads and yeah, roll with the punches, as they say. So anyway, here's what happened with the engine. And I'm glad to say that it's no one's fault, apart from if I was going to blame anyone, it would be myself. So was never pointing any fingers anyway, and that's what I was talking about before with negativity and stuff like that. People were making assumptions and bits and pieces, but I put the engine in a box and made quite an impressive box actually, one that can be used a few more times in the future. So if there happens to be a spare engine or bits and pieces to sit around. But anyway, long story short, engine left Adelaide thanks to Burson Auto Parts at Lonsdale there. They shipped it over for me. The guys from Atomic got it, and as you can see here, I'll explain this in a minute, but we got the engine over there, and we were trying to work out how I was going to get over there and hang out with them, because I wanted to be there and hang out and be a part of the whole process of pulling the engine out. You know, I've known Brad for a long time, so it'd be cool to be there, rip the thing apart. But obviously with COVID and all that sort of stuff, it was getting really tricky, and then I had another guy and Sydney, who was a mate who was going to go over there and film it, and then because COVID restrictions, he couldn't do it. Another guy that was local to them, he couldn't do it because it was not local enough. And now over there, it's all sort of restrictions and masks and that sort of thing. And then it all got down to the point where we decided that we were just going to do basically like a Zoom meeting. And this is what's going on here. So what we did, and the bonus being is because there's mask restrictions and stuff like that in Sydney at the moment, is that Brad and Tom both live together at the moment. And so, you know, under the rules, they don't have to wear masks around each other. So that worked out just nicely. But what we did was we pulled the engine apart, me watching them do it. And first and foremost, the guys were pretty adamant that there was not going to be any problems with the oil pump. And you know, there's a lot of talk about oil pump issues and that with Falcons. What they did was they pulled the oil pump apart, and they did find that the pressure relief valve was jammed. And the reason for that, there was some foreign matter in there, and they pulled that apart, cleared it out. There was some scoring in the pressure relief valve, but they managed to get it out, cleared all that out. And Brad's developed over a few years what's basically like an oil pump dyno, so they can actually put an oil pump assembly in, puts like a safety shield over the top, and then he can crank it up to different RPM levels, basically to simulate the engine. They can even heat the oil up and stuff like that. And they ran the oil pump up, even though it had damage in it, had some scoring in it and stuff like that, and it basically ran as it should do. So that was a bonus and a bit of a relief, no pun intended, to find that out.
Something like that. Okay. So the pump's working all right, but what we're going to do now, I'll show you a few more things. We'll put it on setting 2, which is 1940 RPM. It's got about 60 PSI at 1940, so that's pretty okay. And then we'll crank it up to the next setting, which is 3,200 RPM.
And then we sort of, I left them to do their thing, and they messaged me and said, oh, we'll get back on with you, we found something else. And here's the shitty part, and I don't like to swear on this channel, but you know, people are probably going to attack me in the comments below for this, and it's what I would say is either an oversight or just a really, really unlucky fact, is that they found blasting matter in the sump, which is basically like media, like from a glass bead blaster or something like that, and that's more than likely from powder coating, and definitely not in any way, shape or form pointing the finger at either powder coaters I've used in the past, because they're both great. What they found was that in the rocker cover underneath the 2 dash fittings, which are normally the breathers, there's like a baffle plate in there, and there'd been some blasting media in there that had been jammed in there over when it was originally done. And I mean, myself, when I put it all together and had it done, I would have, you know, instinctively as a mechanic, got in there with, you know, maybe a bit of solvent and the compressed air gun and got it out as best as possible, but obviously didn't get enough out. Either that or in the actual spill tank behind the engine, like the catch can, so to speak. Maybe there was some media in that which was in the bottom of that, and then, you know, through time it got ingested back into the engine. So kind of not the ideal situation and not what we wanted. Thankfully, talking to Brad and Tom, who've been awesome, you know, as you can see here, we went right through everything and checked a bunch of stuff, so it was kind of good to hang out with them. But thankfully, damage-wise in the engine, Dex and I pulled the pin on it straight away. We didn't sort of try anything too much. And Brad was pretty complimentary of the fact that we just pulled the pin on it and didn't sort of try and push it or anything like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Look, you know,
Yeah.
pulling it up was incredibly sensible and great, you know, it was really good.
There's a little tiny bit of scoring in the bores, which we think may actually be able to be fixed just by a hone. It's looking like the pistons are probably going to have to get thrown in the bin, so that's a shame, but yeah, a bit of skirt damage on them. Other than that, he said the bearings and everything look pretty good, but they'll get replaced anyway. Cams are looking good. Probably go over the head, obviously. Just everything needs a clean anyway because of the media that's in there, so it'll all get a once over and a freshen up, and then go back together. We were talking about putting a billet crank in it and stuff like that But for the meantime, the achievable power of the cranks that they're using at the moment to prep to crank in it anyway, it's going to be going way more power than it made anyway. So I'm looking at basically getting it back together with just a few updates in it, just so we can get the car back on the road sooner. The good thing is we can possibly look at building a second engine and then swap engines over, and that way we can go to a billet engine or billet crank engine, maybe a billet block engine later on. There's a few of them happening, but yeah, billet crank engine in the future. But the other good thing is that because the engine's out at the moment, I've taken the transmission out. The transmission is going up to MV Automatics the minute I can get up there after lockdown. I've got the reed case, which I have mentioned in the past in the videos, and so we're going to be swapping into the reed case, and also we're going to be putting a stall converter dump valve set up in it, which will get controlled with the launch control button through the ECU, and also there's like a super sprag set up in the inside, which just a bit stronger and stuff like that. But the reed case, I'll get to that bit when we do the transmission, because I'm actually quite keen to film most of that process with Mike. Obviously he's got his little secrets that he does, like other transmission builders will do, so we won't film the whole deal, but I'll film as much as I can, get him to explain what's going on. But other than that, I've had a few discussions about changing a few things with the water-to-air intercooler. To date, we've probably never really run the car in hot air conditions, and you know, some say, well, that's not really going to matter as much with a water-to-air or air-to-water, depending on which way you say it. You obviously still got the heat going through the heat exchanger as well. So looking at other options, maybe some sort of dryer setup or something like that, but I am speaking to some experts about that who know a lot more about it than I do. So just working on a solution with that, changing the coils from the LS setup possibly to the R35 GDR coil setup that Platinum Racing Products make, and then just updating a few things with the Haltech system, with the wideband, proper knock sensor setup, other bits and pieces like that. But the best bit is that on inspection internally in the engine, piston tops and stuff like that, Brad was really complimentary of Dex's tuning, which is really good, and there's no detonation marks or anything like that. So we're on track really to go quick with the car eventually when we get it all back together and working properly. But obviously it's, I'll say it again, shitty things like this that happen that are little setbacks. But right now, given the fact that we're in lockdowns and stuff like that, it's just one of those things. We're just sort of riding the wave and going with the flow. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I can finish this video off on a positive note and saying, well, two things. I've got another update happening with Frank the Tank. Just sort of editing that at the moment. Had a heap of footage that I'm just trying to throw together and work out how to do it. I did have to drive the car to finish the video, but obviously right now I'm only really allowed to drive to the supermarket and back, so it's probably overkill driving that to the supermarket. But I mean, hey, I can fit heaps of groceries in it. But yeah, I've got the PVS steering wheel on it. It does have paddle shift on it now, which is ridiculous but cool. 27-year-old Land Cruiser. It's going to be a heap of fun once we mess around with the transmission programming a bit more and stuff like that. So before I sign out, as a big token of my gratitude, especially the Aussie subscribers as well that watch this, it is absolutely freezing at the moment. It's that time of the year, so I'm going to be cheesy and go, hey, if you throw some flame emojis down below, I'm going to basically pick somebody out in the next video, or probably 3 or 4 people out in the next video, and give away some Hoon TV hoodies and beanies and stuff like that. So I'll pick a few people, get some details, and then send them out so I can just do my little pieces, Hoon TV, to keep you warm during these freezing, disgusting cold months. So thanks for watching, and yeah, I'm just watching this disappointing, but thankfully, and I'll go back on this as well, thankfully we found the problem. There's no sort of guesswork. We know exactly what the problem was, and yeah, so comment as you may. I'm taking this one, but yeah, onwards and upwards, more boosts, more fun, more thumbs up. Speak soon.